I am so pleased that Robert Garcia is here and the mayor is here. This is an important press conference that is being held to let you know what we're all doing, resisting this low-down, dirty, no-good, filthy president of the United States of America.
Sorry, I think you can hear me now. I'm having all kinds of problems. This is my backup sound. I don't know what's going on. My normal stereo sound that is hooked up to the system, it looks normal. I mean, I don't see anything going on with it, but I guess it was not on. I'm going to restart it, but I think you can hear me now. What a day, what a day. I was just talking about what a day it is. And let's see here. So I will start talking about what a day it is again. And as you can see, this is my backup sound. It's probably not the best sound, although the other day I forgot to turn the other sound on. And so it's not really unusual. All right, let me backtrack here. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Dee. And I'm sorry, I didn't even see your messages that you guys couldn't hear me. Good morning, Dottie. Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, Karen. And good morning, Fred and Paul. Let's see here. Rob, good morning. Lori, good morning. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Thanks, guys, for popping in with me today. I don't know what's going on with my other sound. I have a microphone here, and that sound, for whatever reason, is not on. But you know what? I am not going to dwell on it. If it comes on, it comes on. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Nothing. I don't know what's happening. It looks like it's on there, but if you can hear me, that is all that mattered. Because, like I said, I what I was saying that you guys couldn't hear me. Oh, thank you, Dee. You can hear it clear. Good morning, Joe. Yeah, I'm just using my laptop sound right now. I have a podcasting system set up, And that's usually where my sound comes from. But that's okay. You know what? We'll just deal with it. I'm glad you guys can hear me. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you. That is one thing that I was going to what I was saying is Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. And then I'm going to have to bail out of the show a little bit early today. And with all these sound problems, it's like, what is the point? Good morning, Sherry. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Vernon. And because today is my follow up appointment for my biopsy that I had done. And what I was saying is that it takes a really long time for all the tests to come back. But I don't expect much to come out of the biopsy discussion because everything was inconsistent. That would be, or inconclusive is the right word to use. Inconclusive. There was no fungus, no bacteria, no infection. There was literally, they found some granuloma, which could mean some type of granulomatous inflammation. So maybe they'll explain that to me if they know, maybe they don't know. But another, just another biopsy that says nothing, just a good old nothing. But sometimes nothing is better than something sometimes. Thank you so much, Fred. And so I'm going to have to duck out a little early today so I can make sure I get the drive. I do not want to be late. My doctor is very difficult to make an appointment with. He's very busy. It took me a whole year to get into this doctor appointment. So I do not want to be messing around. Good doctor, by the way, up there at St. Louis University. And as you know, where I live, that's quite a drive. And the weather's crazy. That doesn't help. It is so windy and cold. I hate this kind of weather. I really do. I like sun, sun, water, beautiful green grass. This is so dreary. I'll be so glad for fall to, I guess fall's about done. I'll be glad for winter to get over so we can get back to spring again, get back in my garden and get things going. But anyway, we do have some things to talk about. If you guys saw that clip I played in I just can't talk today. In the beginning, I got up really early and had to hurry up and get ready to go as soon as the show ends. So kind of a mess this morning. But if you saw that clip in the very beginning, Maxine Waters calling Donald Trump a low down, what does she call him? Low down, dirty scoundrel or something like that. What is that lady on? And why is she even in this position still? The strongest advocate we have for term limits. My gosh, get that woman out. Just get her out. She does not belong there. I can't wait to see her go. And Dottie says, yes, allow extra time for holiday travel. Speaking of tomorrow, Thanksgiving, I hope you guys all have a really good Thanksgiving. I'm kind of curious if you guys want to put it in the comment. Those of you that can comment, what are you cooking? Or are you cooking? Are you going somewhere? Every single year after I've cooked, they say next year, just go into a restaurant, or ordering carry out. Why go through all this crazy cooking? But I've already bought the turkey, so I guess I'm going to be cooking it this year once again. But for me, we just do the general. Every year it's kind of the same. Turkey, you've got your stuffing. Some people call it dressing. I don't stuff the turkey, but I thought about it this year, but I don't know if I will or not. I haven't stuffed the turkey in a long time because it's just gross to me. And we always cook green beans and sweet potatoes. Now I don't make the sweet potato casserole where you put it in the dish with the pecans and all that junk. I don't do any of the marshmallows. God forbid, I don't want marshmallows in the sweet potatoes. I do mine the old candied sweet potatoes on the stove. My grandma did it that way, and that is how I do it. And pecan pie, Dottie, you're already getting started. Good morning, Anthony, and happy Thanksgiving to you also. Pies and cakes and things, those are always big. When we make corn, mashed potatoes, but here's the thing. And I'm very thankful for this. We all got something to be thankful for. I see my family all the time. We eat together all the time. And what's so funny about that is it used to be the little holiday tradition that you make all the Thanksgiving food, but I make that stuff just about every single week. We in my house, I make a lot of green beans and mashed potatoes and corn and sometimes stuffing and all the other works. I make a lot of chicken breast. So I keep thinking that on Thanksgiving, I really should make like a lasagna, or a rib roast or something completely different. But it's tradition. Good morning, Jason. And Paul says, because the people of California are out of their minds voting her in term after term. No results for the district. Definition of insanity. You are right. Speaking of Maxine Waters, of course. And but sweet potatoes, I think, are my favorite. of the Thanksgiving foods. I know we used to make those brown and serve rolls years ago. I don't do that anymore. I always hated those stupid brown and serve rolls. I didn't even buy a bread this year. I don't even know if I'm going to make a bread this year, but we always make pumpkin pie, which I make from scratch. We always make usually make like a pineapple upside down cake, but I have this recipe I think I'm going to make today. I have a pecan tree out back. I've harvested probably a good 300 pounds of pecans off this tree. I gave a big bag to one of the neighbors, and I think I'm going to try to find the nutcracker. I have no idea where it is, and I might make a pecan pie, but I make this pecan cake where it's like you take a cake mix and a big, pretty big jar of applesauce, and you fold that in, and that's it for the cake, just the applesauce and the cake mix. And then you heat up. It's 2 sticks of butter, a cup of brown sugar, and some vanilla, and then you pour in your pecans. I use a lot of pecans in mine. I think the recipe's like for a cup. I use about a cup and a half to 2 cups, and then you mix all that together, and then you pour your cake mix. It makes enough for like 2 loaf pans. It's a very gooey cake, so you don't want to put it in like a big cake pan. I use it in 2 loaf pans is what I do. And then what you do is you take your pecan mixture and you put it in the bottom of your loaf pans, and then you pour that cake batter over it and bake it. And it is really probably the best cake on the planet. It's if you like pecans and you like that kind of gooiness, because that's exactly what it is. Good morning, Karen. And I'm sure a lot of you guys probably have a lot of plans. Dottie bought 15 pounds of sweet potatoes yesterday to can. That's a good idea, Dottie. I bought a whole bunch of sweet potatoes too. If you go to Schnucks, they have sweet potatoes right now. I think it's 39 cents a pound, which is insane if you're a sweet potato person. But you know what? We got a lot to talk about today besides Thanksgiving. But I do hope you guys all have a Thanksgiving. Something I want to talk about, we've talked a lot about the seditious six, the situation. And I feel like it's an extremely serious situation, which is why I've brought it up so many times, because I know I'm going to go down this road and then say there's not going to be accountability, because there probably won't be any accountability. But Senator Mark Kelly is doubling down. He went on Jimmy Kimmel's show and talked about how he's not worried. He actually challenged Donald Trump and said, "Hey, bring it on. I'm sticking to my guns. I'm not going to give in. What I said was accurate, blah, blah, blah." Now, the military does have the ability, from what I understand. Now, I've never been a member of the military. I am not a veteran. I know some of you are. But the way that it works is that if it is an illegal command, that yes, the military does have some right to be able to stand down. But if it is a legal command, then they have to follow orders. That is legally, you have to follow orders. You have to follow your commander in chief. And I know we kind of went over this the other day. And now the issue that stands allegedly, and the way I'm understanding it, is that because the seditious six, because Slotkin, Kelly, and all the others, because they are actively telling the military to stand down when there have been no illegal acts committed. There have been no illegal acts committed. That is illegal for them to stand up and say these things, and therefore they could be potentially facing some different types of charges, including sedition. It is a very serious situation, and if you watch that clip of Jimmy Kimmel, he's like, "What is sedition? I don't even understand what sedition is." Oh, he definitely knows what sedition is. These people are just ridiculous. That's all it comes down to. They're just ridiculous. What they said was wrong. It's dangerous. And it's just meant to cause division, because they all know that Donald Trump has not given any illegal orders to our United States military. They just want to cause division. That's the goal. It is a plan to divide and conquer. And we've always known there was that plan to divide and conquer, but it is stronger now than it has ever been. And there's no question they just want to divide the military. They want infighting. They want the opposite of peace. It's really sad, quite honestly. And Paul says they want Trump to act on them because they know the optics will not be good, and they want for the midterms because their policies are terrible. Paul, I hadn't looked at it, from that perspective, that they think that if Trump does act, if they do, make Senator Kelly, if they do reactivate him and court martial him, then of course it's just going to empower the Democrats more. because they're going to be more angry. And I'm telling you, these people have already lost their minds. They've lost their minds. I don't think I saved the video of the Antifa march, but I saw an Antifa march yesterday, and that was taking place in St. Paul, Minnesota. And watching that was unbelievable. They were attacking ICE agents. They were attacking the ICE vehicles, vandalizing ICE vehicles. I will never understand why we don't just come in, round up, encircle them, and arrest them all. That is not a peaceful protest. It's not peaceful. And I guess I don't know. What can you do? Donald Trump can't be everywhere. He doesn't have the rule of law everywhere. We have these different, very liberal mayors in different cities and governors that allow these things to happen. And sadly, Minnesota is one of the worst. It is one of the worst. It seriously makes me sick. I'm just to the point now where I'm just tired of it all. I don't understand why we cannot do something about it. And look at the crime. Look at what's going on in Chicago. While we are making leaps and bounds to get some of these, criminals off the streets, look what's happened. We hadn't even talked about that yet. There was another person set on fire, in one of the trains in St. Louis, and gosh, not St. Louis, sorry, in Chicago. Another criminal. It is just unbelievable what's happening. I feel like I need to carry a weapon everywhere I go because you just have no idea what's going to come out around any corner. Violence at an all-time high, shootings. I this morning, as I do every morning, I don't watch the news. I read the news, but I do go through X. I go through Facebook. I look at people's videos. I spend about an hour every morning just looking at stuff like that. And there's just so much crime. I was just watching a video this morning here in St. Louis on Cherokee Street where a guy, a 26-year-old man, I think he was 26 or 27, he backed into this guy's car, kind of sideswiped the back of the guy's car. Well, what happens? The guy in the car that got sideswiped, he gets out. He starts firing rounds at this guy. So the guy crashes trying to get away, hits several other cars and a pole. And then guess what? The guy that got sideswiped gets out. You see this big weapon he's got. He walks over to the vehicle and shoots that guy point blank and kills him. Why? Because he backed into his car. I mean, it is just absolutely unbelievable. Then he tried to say, well, I did it because he was trying to get away. No, he was trying to get away because you were shooting at him. But then Democrats are worried about us, people, law-abiding citizens, having weapons. And we've got lunatics like that out on the streets. And road rage, too, is kind of at an all-time high. I'll tell you, I don't even look forward today to getting on the roads, going to my doctor appointment, because I know people are going to be driving like absolute freaking lunatics. Just slow down, slow down. I kid you not. I don't know, a week or so ago, my son and I are driving towards work. He was helping me out that night with my anti-piracy work. We were driving towards St. Louis, and I saw this car coming up from behind us. It was a Mustang, and it was flying. And I'm thinking, this car has nowhere to go. I am driving in the right-hand lane. There's a car in the left lane, like right where I'm at. And neither one of us really had much time to react because this car was flying up. And I kept thinking, like, where's this car going to go? I'm thinking all this in a split second because I'm like, there is nowhere to go. I have nowhere to move to. And so I moved a little bit to the right. Another car to the left of me. Thank God they were paying attention. They moved a little bit to the left. That car went down between us. They were not going to stop. I don't know what they were going to do. But I see that stuff all the time on the road. People just think they can drive any way they want. And it's a dangerous situation. They end up in these road rage situations. Too many people getting shot at and too many people getting shot. It's just unbelievable. And I know we can't just solve all these problems overnight. Sometimes I think, man, I wish that I could be in charge, because I would be like, all right, National Guard, all right, active duty military, we're going to send you to St. Louis and Chicago and Memphis and Los Angeles and all these different places. And so I know even for Donald Trump, it's not that easy. It's not as easy as just saying, okay, I acknowledge all of this crime is existing, but yet I can't just deploy troops anywhere I want to do. I've got to abide the law, the Constitution, and so on. And it's very upsetting to me. Paul says, if Trump can broker a stop to the Russian-Ukraine war, The left will do all kinds of crazy stuff, so the attention will be taken away from Trump's accomplishments. They are truly, let's see, they're truly rudderies at the moment. Rudderless. I'm thinking, what's a ruddery? Good morning, Dave in St. Louis. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Isn't it, Paul? It's crazy. And I'm so frustrated today. I woke up and I'm thinking, I need to go on the show and talk about all the things we can be thankful for. But it's like all the things I'm thinking about are just, I'm just so frustrated. And then we have the communists. I got a video here of this lady. Hopefully I can pull up the right video. I didn't save the tags because I didn't have time. This lady is a full-blown communist. She's part of the Revolutionary Communist Party. And she's talking about how the communists are going to take down Trump. So we've got the Muslims, we've got the communists, we've got the Antifa, the real fascists, uh, we've got the illegals, all these groups trying to take down Donald Trump. It's pretty darn funny, in my opinion. I hope I play the right video. If I don't, I'll find it.
I am.
One. All right, it's got to be this one.
We are not stopping until Trump is removed. We are not stopping until Trump is removed because we recognize that the nature of fascism is that its atrocities get greater and greater, and they move to violently shut down any space for anybody to oppose them, unless they are removed from power. There is no compromise with fascism. There is no waiting it out. There is no hoping it goes away. There is no containing it. Either we drive it out or it drives over all of us and humanity's future.
Okay. Whoever thought the Communist Party would grow in the way that it's growing? You know, I remember several years ago, knowing that there were members of the Communist Party who were, of course, out there and trying to win elections and different things. And I remember thinking, well, that's not going to go very far. They're just a little dot on the map. And, nobody really takes them seriously. And then we had a couple of them. We had RevCom, the Revolutionary Communist Party, was always one of the bigger of the communist groups in the United States. And I always thought, well, they didn't really seem like they were growing. They seemed like they were kind of a cultist type group who had some reverie in the old days of communist talk, but they're growing. Now there's all these new groups. Of course, there's LPL. They've got this new one. I can't remember what it's called now. I think it's like a Revolutionary Party of America, something like that. But they're growing, and it's crazy how much they're growing. And young people who really have no idea what they're doing or what they're talking about, they are somehow falling in line with socialism. I'm hearing it more and more from these young people who say, I'm all for socialism. I don't get it. I don't think they understand what socialism is or what communism is or what brings these things in. And we're going to talk about that again, probably not today, maybe Friday, maybe next week when we have more time. I know Colonel Joe Adams, his significant other, Deanna, she wants to come in or come on the show and talk about an incident that she recently had that had something to do with communist socialism. So I definitely want to talk to her about that, because I'll tell you, I don't know where things are going in this country, but it's not good. Like I said, I woke up this morning, I'm seeing videos from all these Islamicists in Dearborn and Texas and Minneapolis having these big marches. And it's not like it used to be where there's 20, 30, 40 people. There are hundreds of people, thousands of people at some of these marches. And all of these people, guess what? They they want us to not exist. If you're conservative and you're Christian, then guess what? Our days are numbered. They really are. I think the days of the Republican Party are numbered. I'm seeing so many fractures in the party, and we know the parties have changed. Democrat Party has changed. Republican Party has definitely changed between before and after Donald Trump. But I see those changes again, and I don't know if you do or not. But look at let's say Marjorie Taylor Greene as an example. She was, whether you like her or not, she's definitely kind of one of the pillars of the newer Republican Party, of the MAGA movement, and now she's gone. Her and Donald Trump do not get along. I don't see that relationship being mended at all. And now we're starting to see some people fall behind, Marjorie Taylor Greene and going up against Donald Trump. And a lot of people, it's not easy to find It's not easy to find, but if you go out and look, especially if you go on Truth Social, which is where Donald Trump, of course, spends a lot of time, there's a lot of people on there who are coming out against him, talking about why aren't we following America First policies? Why are we no longer America First? Why isn't anyone talking about America First? And I saw a post by Marjorie Taylor Greene this morning. She may have posted it yesterday, where she was referring to something that Levin had posted. Levin, of course, from Fox News, Mark Levin. He had made this post, and you know what? I've got it here, so it's easier for me to just read it here. But it was kind of a strange post. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, she shared Mark Levin's post. She said, "This and not delivering America First results will be the end of the Republican Party." And what Mark Levin had said is he said the Carlson litmus test, meaning Qatar, Tucker Carlson, he said, "Going forward, I'll insist that every Republican who wants our votes declare if they stand with or against lunatic Tucker Carlson." And I'm guessing he's saying Qatar because Tucker Carlson has supported Qatar. It is the only thing I can think. Those two have been feuding like crazy, like crazy. And let's see. Laura, universities, professors teaching our kids, that's half the problem. Oh, no question about it. You know, it has not changed at all that these liberal universities are there. You know, your kid comes in, a good, typical conservative Christian kid, or just a Christian kid, one way or the other, and they come out, you know, like an absolute lunatic on the other side. Purple hair, nose rings. Yes, a breeding ground for lots of crazy stuff going on at these colleges. Paul says most of these young folks haven't paid taxes for very long. They're new to the game. Very true. They'd have a different view if they've worked their butts off for 30 years and someone wanted to take more of what they earned. Silly children. And that's a big part of the problem, Paul, is because a lot of these kids, they are young. They've not been out in the world yet. They have not worked, again, their butts off, like you say, for a job for a number of years. And they've not been able to accumulate anything. You know, it takes, and especially now, it's harder and harder to accumulate homes and cars and other types of things people consider to be wealth. It really is more difficult now. And they've not had those experiences. And there's no question that anyone who has made their way in life does not support socialism. I can't imagine anyone that has any significant wealth saying, "Yep, I'm all for socialism. I'm just going to give all my money away." You know, you hear people like Billie Eilish come out and talk to these people. "Why are you billionaires? Nobody should be a billionaire. You should give all your money away." I'd be curious. Now, maybe she has given all of her money away. You know, how is she living? I don't know. I need to look into that. I'd be very curious if she's giving all her millions of dollars away. But this fight, though, between Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson, it's gone pretty far. I haven't really seen Tucker Carlson fighting back. I see Mark Levin hating him. And of course, Mark Levin, not too long ago, talking about Nick Fuentes because he was very upset that Tucker Carlson interviewed him, and he felt that their interview was very anti-Semitic. And that's kind of where all of this began. And of course, according to Levin, if you support Qatar and if you support Donald Trump, his relationship with Qatar, then obviously you are anti-Israel because you can't support both. But that's where diplomacy comes in. You know, it's hard for me too sometimes. I think, you know, I don't want us giving Syria a seat at the table. I don't want them in our White House or in our country. Look at, you know, the things they've done to us. I don't want that. And look at Qatar. Qatar, very much so, is behind a lot of what happened at 9/11. Or, you know, some people believe the United States government is behind what happened at 9/11, but some people believe it's Qatar. And of course, Qatar, they're not our friends. They act like our friends, but they're definitely not our friends. But does that mean that if you support the relationship with Qatar, because Donald Trump, he has to be diplomatic. That's how it works. It has to be diplomatic. He is trying to get Qatar to invest a lot of money in our country. Same with Saudi Arabia. Same with a lot of these other Middle Eastern countries that have a lot of money. They have a lot of resources. We need money. We need resources, you know, because for being the greatest country in the world, we're in debt. You know, we're pretty darn close to being a bankrupt country, and we have to bring money in. And it is a difficult situation, but you just have to put yourself in that place and realize you have to go with diplomacy. I don't like diplomacy in a lot of occasions, but it's just what we've got to do. Paul says, well, my support first and foremost is to the United States of America. And me too, Paul. And I think the most aggravating thing for me is that I want to see more America first. And I feel like it's going to pull the party apart. I really do. I think that it started with a little trickle, with people, including myself, saying, what is going on here? Why are we worried about all this foreign policy? What's going on in all these different countries and trying to win the Nobel Peace Prize and all of this, creating this legacy? Why aren't we focusing on what's happening here in America and just shut all that stuff out? Just leave it all out and focus here in the United States. And I still believe that that's what we need to do, but I also understand that we do need to have relationships and create peace with these other countries because we need what they have. Under Democrat rule, what did we do? If another country had something we wanted, we created a false flag event or false accusations of weapons of mass destruction, and then we went in and we took what we wanted. And a lot of people lost their lives when we did that. If we wanted something, we just went in and we took it. And the world knows that that's exactly how we operate. We go in and we take what we want. Oh, that country has oil. Oh, they have gold. We could go down the list of countries, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, there's a whole Lebanon, there's a whole list of countries where we've gone in and we've just taken what we wanted. Trump is different. He doesn't want to follow that pattern. He wants to act with diplomacy. And it's difficult for some of us because we're so used to, if we want something, just going in and taking it. And now Donald Trump, he wants to follow a new path. He doesn't want to create war. He wants to solve these problems diplomatically, that, hey, Ukraine, you have an abundance of rare earth minerals. And we would really love to work a deal with you so that we can broker this peace deal with Russia. In exchange, we want some of your rare earth minerals. Or Syria, very wealthy in minerals and gold. I mean, sorry, not gold, oil. And so, hey, Syria, you're a bunch of terrorists. You've killed American troops. You are definitely our enemy. But hey, we're going to welcome you into the White House because you have a lot of oil, and we would really like that oil. And it's diplomacy. I don't like it either. I don't like it either. And Paul says, all these people with dual citizenship with Israel compromises our national security. What about this, Paul? There's a lot of people talking that people shouldn't have dual citizenship. And I can't recall if it was somebody who made a comment here or somebody I talked to somewhere else. And I can't recall the name of the country. It was one of you, I believe, that said this on a comment the other day, where they said, whatever country it was, you're not allowed to have dual citizenship. You have maybe it was China, where you're only allowed, it was China. You're only allowed to have Chinese citizenship. That's it. There is no dual citizenship in China. And so maybe that's something we need to propose here in the United States. Do away with dual citizenships. You are either an American or you're not. Take your choice. Do you want your American citizenship, or do you want a dual citizenship? I don't think you should have both. I really think that we need to double down, triple down, quadruple down on our America First policies. And that America First policy could absolutely include one citizenship. That's it. Then, we don't have to worry about people who have ulterior motives. And God knows, and I'm not talking about people from Israel specifically. I'm just talking about people in general in this country. So those are some of the things that I hope somewhere down the road we see on the table, because I would really personally like to see that. I'm trying to be positive because it is Thanksgiving and we need to be giving thanks. But at the same time, I feel like things are going good. We've got so many accomplishments. Things are so much better off than what they were a year ago today, leaps and bounds ahead of where we were at that time, even though at this time last year we were, we had already won the election. Thank God for that, at least. Thank God for that. Something else I want to talk about, you're seeing a lot coming out from Democrats about illegal entry, because of course they want to attack ICE anytime they can. I have seen countless videos. One of a mayor in, I think it was Louisiana, came out, was talking about a couple senators making these videos that are going viral And they're saying, well, when you cross into the country illegally, you illegally cross our border, that's a civil matter. You shouldn't be able to be arrested and deported. But that's just lies. And I guess they're thinking that if they spread these lies, there will be a certain percentage of the population that will believe them and side with them. It is a federal crime to cross our border illegally. It's a felony. If you cross our border illegally, it is a felony. Now, where the Constitution comes into play is if you cross our border and we catch you right at the border, I can't remember, some of you probably know, is it 150 yards or 150 feet? It's one or the other. If we catch you crossing the border and you're within that small length, across from the border, then we can immediately send you right back over. You're not allowed due process. We owe you nothing. If we catch you within that corridor, we owe you nothing. Back over you go. However, if you make it past that mark, then according to our Constitution, you are entitled to due process. So what's happening still fits within that barrier, because some people want to say, well, we're not constitutionally giving these people their due process. They came into our country, they made it past that 150 feet or yards, whichever it is, and now we owe them due process. Okay, well, we're still giving them due process, but guess what? They're just going to be doing it on the other side of the border. We're telling people, hey, you're here, you live here illegally, you came here to our country illegally, self-deport, go back over wherever it is you need to go, reapply for legal status, and hey, we'll take all that into consideration. If you are here illegally and you've committed a crime, think about that. You've committed a crime in this country. Well, then guess what? Your due process is out the door, and you got to go. So I don't see a problem with it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't see a problem with it, but it's certainly not a civil matter. That is for sure. And lastly, one of the things I want to talk about before I head out. Again, I've got to head out in a couple minutes. I probably should have already gone, but I want to talk about this first. We've talked a lot about the movie Age of Disclosure. And so I wanted to add this last little piece about that film. I watched it again last night because every time I'm watching it, I'm busy and kind of doing other stuff. I probably miss bits and pieces. And something that I thought was interesting, and I thought you might find it as interesting as I did, is towards the end of the film, one of the people who, I don't know if you want to call him a whistleblower, I guess they could be considered whistleblowers, but one of the men who talked about the investigations and gave a lot of information in the film about these different UAP encounters and different programs we have in the United States that investigates UAP sightings and non-human entities. He said that the United States kills people. They kill people without due process. And I thought that was kind of wild. And it's not something I didn't already believe. Because remember, you guys probably don't remember, Obama used to carry out drone strikes against people. And a lot of people say, well, that's not true. But it actually is true. And people want to say, well, here in the United States, we don't torture people. We're not allowed to do that. Well, let me tell you something. We absolutely do torture people here in the United States. They've made movies about, was it Zero Dark 30? Where they talked about waterboarding people. We absolutely do, and there is no doubt that people in our country who go too far absolutely are taken out. How many people have we heard reports about that went against the government and they end up unalived? Oh, but they somehow shot themselves in the back, or they somehow fell into a river and took their laptop with them. I mean, come on. So this guy was given a pretty good warning that, hey, if you find me in the Potomac, you know what happened to me. And it's kind of crazy. I think that's something that still happens here in the United States, that if you go against the government, and some people might want to bring up the Clintons, of course, but I think it's happened under every president, where if you go against the government, they're not going to arrest you. They're not going to take you to jail. You just may somehow meet your end in some very mysterious way. Seth Rich, what happened to Seth Rich? There have been so many people, and probably more under the Clinton administration, but who knows? And I thought that was kind of wild that he was talking about it. And it's something that we don't really talk about very often. It's kind of one of the darker parts of our country. And I don't think here in the United States that's different than anywhere else. I can guarantee you every country probably has some type of policy where if you've gone too far and you've come out against your country, you're probably somebody who's maybe in the media, maybe not in the big spotlight of the media, where they can come in and something can happen to you and no one knows why. Not surprising at all. And I'm sure that some of these people who are revealing this information about the UAPs and these investigations probably are fearing for their lives right now. And speaking of that, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I saw, made a post about Donald Trump being briefed on all of the, UAP sightings and the investigations, the non-biologics, all of the non-humans and so on. And we talked about that a little bit yesterday, that he is still coming up with a speech, still planning on talking to Americans about what he has learned in these meetings. So we'll get to that. I hate to make a run for it, but I have to go. Probably talking about a lot of nonsense today, just because I wanted to come out and join you guys and hang out for a bit, but I have got to go. I hope you guys all have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Hopefully, I'm a little anxious about my appointment today, if you can't tell. So I'm hoping that to get at least some decent news, because I don't know. I have no idea what the doctors think. They didn't find anything, another inconclusive biopsy. And it's kind of worrisome, because when you think about it, you've got all this going on. It's lighting up on a PET scan and it's spreading, it's getting worse, but yet there are no answers. It's kind of baffling. But I mean, I feel fine. I feel perfectly fine. So hopefully it's nothing that's a big deal. Hopefully I'll have some answers at my appointment today, at least coming on and talking to you guys, a little bit of a good distraction while I had some time to wait before I leave. But I do hope you guys all have a really good Thanksgiving tomorrow. I'm going to be back on Friday. I'll have some good stuff to talk about by then, and not just jibber jabbing with everybody. But I do hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving. Stay out of this crazy cold weather, and I will look forward to seeing you all on Friday. I'm going to reach out to Colonel Joe Adams. I hope he joins us on Friday. I don't know if he's available. If not, he'll be with us the following Monday. Let's see here. Dee, you also have a blessed Thanksgiving. And Karen, thank you. I appreciate the prayers. I hope you guys all have a good holiday, and I will see you all on Friday.